Hello and welcome to the Prepare to Compete podcast, where we talk all things VA disability benefits, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Kenneth Davis, how you feeling today, my brother?
Man, I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful, man. On this beautiful afternoon here.
Man, beautiful springtime, right? We had a lot of
Yeah,
March Madness. You actually even saw me with the UNLV hat in our March Madness edition, man. I was trying to do a whole little play on the whole season there, man. So I hope you guys caught that. We had some beautiful things with the men's tournament, the women's tournament, but the men's tournament was pretty good because San Diego State, man, went all the way.
yeah, man. San Diego went crazy here, man. Again, all those supportive fans. But at heart, I'm a running rebel. So, just don't let the black and red fuel you. It was great black and red, but again, the wrong team name there. So,
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Go Rebels for sure, but happy to the champions in both divisions as far as the women and the men's.
for sure.
Definitely, it was a great tournament, and it's always great because I'm in Vegas, so that's spring break time, and a lot of people come down to Vegas during that March Madness. However, the weather is just kind of starting to get there in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I see. That's what it's kind of peaking out. It's kind of peaking out. With the weather change, obviously there's a lot of transitional people coming into Vegas. Obviously Vegas is a very transient state, right? So, was there anything going on in the real estate market out there? What's going on in that regard?
Man, I'm glad you asked, man. We actually gonna kick it off talking about the real estate market today. We have a really robust show for you guys today. I know we had a couple of videos with some special updates, which we'll be doing those for all things veteran benefits and kind of different new real estate news. So definitely check out those special edition segments that we'll publish as those become available. But yeah, in the real estate space, man, Vegas is still going strong, man. It's still Vegas strong around here in terms
Yeah.
of what's going on with the real estate, man. You know, the market as a whole, you have less buyers in the market, but you also have a lot less people selling their properties, right?
Mhm.
So there's a lot less inventory going on. So it definitely makes things balance out that way.
Got it. Got it. Oh man, less inventory, but you'll give us the insight on it. I was just going to ask about pricing and different things of that nature because, anyone like myself, I don't want to get priced out or anything. I just want to make sure that we're still having room to grow in that regard.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll definitely talk about some different creative things that are happening in the real estate market. I know one of the hot button topics that's going on is people are talking about a 40-year mortgage, right? So do not believe all the news clips and the influencers that aren't real estate professionals at all that are telling you guys the news. If they don't have a loan officer number or a real estate licensor number on their profile, you may want to take what they're saying with a grain of salt and kind of do your own research. Absolutely. So we're going to definitely get into that today, and we're also going to be talking about some different veteran benefit changes, some potential reductions that's coming around the pipeline. So Mr. Davis is going to go in depth about that. Now, there's
Mhm.
about 5 different changes going on, right? So we may not cover all of it today because we want to make sure we provide you guys with the most in-depth, comprehensive information. So we'll kind of take it topic by topic and be scaling that for you guys with the next few videos here.
For sure, for sure. And then we don't want to scare anybody out there, right? When we're talking about some of these proposed changes, a lot of these proposed changes are just that, proposals, right? When we're talking about, again, any type of bill that's going up, it must kind of obviously get to the House, get to the Senate, but we understand a bill can be written up and never go anywhere. So ultimately, this is kind of a proposal from the Congressional Budget Office. But again, we'll talk a little bit more about that in detail.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we're going to give Mr. Davis some time to get settled in with all that, man. He's going to have some great reports for you on that. But I'd like to get started with you guys today talking about the real estate and kind of what's going on just nationally, right? So we do focus on veteran issues here. And also the VA loan, but we want to talk about real estate from a holistic standpoint and not always just the VA loan, because things going on outside of that particular product and outside of veterans obviously is going to impact the whole entire market. Okay. So one government product that's impacting the entire market right now is that dang pesky 40-year mortgage they talking about. Ken, have you heard about that, man? You heard about what they doing with that?
Yeah, well, I kind of heard a little bit of buzzing out that as a veteran myself, I try to gravitate to the VA loan, but just in regards to again any other loan products, I know just as well as any other veteran knows, there are many loan products out there that can ultimately get you to your real estate success. But I did hear about it. I have not dived into it, but please inform us.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. Absolutely. So yeah, what's going on? So you have two different types of government products, right? You obviously have the VA loan, and then you have the FHA loan, which is for non-VA borrowers to be able to purchase a home with 3.5% down as the minimum down payment for that program. Okay. So what they're looking to do right now is to have a loan product that's you could finance for 40 years, right, at a fixed rate. Now, there's a whole lot of misinformation in the news making it seem like you could actually go out and get that product as a new mortgage. No, you cannot do that, okay? You cannot get a 40-year loan as of right now. People saying May 8th or whatever that date is. You cannot get a new 40-year loan to buy a new property or even to refinance that property. Okay. You cannot do that. That product does not exist in that way. That product is a loan modification product. Okay. So basically, with a loan modification, that product is designed for someone that has financial hardship and they ain't been paying their mortgage for at least 3 months, maybe 6 months or a year. And that loan modification is for them to avoid foreclosure of their property. So if you're not at least delinquent about 3 months and they start knocking at your door, like what my mortgage payment is, you're not going to be able to qualify for that 40-year loan. Okay. So if you could afford your current mortgage or you're thinking about buying a new home, don't think you're going to be able to jump into that product.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So
So
basically, so what you're saying, I mean, just to clarify, I just want to make sure everything is in the correct nature. So when we're talking about a 40-year mortgage, you're not able to progressively go out to go purchase a home to be able to garner a 40-year mortgage. This is specifically only someone who is in a position that it was haven't been paying mortgage or having financial hardships, who doesn't have the capabilities to do that. Correct?
correct. Those are the only people. So you cannot do a voluntary refinance. So let's say, well, I don't want to pay my mortgage. It's too much. Can I just refinance to a 40-year mortgage? No, you cannot. I mean, I guess you could try to default on your mortgage for a couple months, not make payments, and see if your servicer will offer you that. But I mean, if you've been paying it on time so far and you're not behind, why risk it? Because it's going to be on a case by case basis on whether they'll offer that. And that's very important to understand. Just because you may have a FHA loan, right, and you stop making payments for a couple months, doesn't mean your servicer is actually going to want to offer you that loan product just because the FHA actually approved it, right? So there's two different things that have to happen, right? You have to already have a FHA loan, and then you have to be defaulting on that loan, and then your loan servicer actually has to approve you to be in that type of modification. Okay, so if you are if you have a conventional loan product or you're not really behind that much, a loan modification has been a product that's been around for a while now, actually, and they made some new modification products during the COVID environment. Okay, so there's some different creative things you can do, and even certain lenders have different programs where if you have like a temporary hardship, you might be able to skip one payment and different things of that nature. So don't try to default and not pay your mortgage for 6 months thinking, oh, yeah, that's going to automatically get me into that 40-year loan product and vastly reduce my payment, because it might be a pie in the sky decision for you. And that's not anything that you want to do right now, right? You only want to use that program and that product right now if you truly are having some hardships and you really need to do that. Because what happens when you get a 40-year mortgage is that your payment goes down, but you're going to be paying a lot more in interest, right? So you're already with just a regular 30-year mortgage paying double, almost triple, depending on your interest rate, based on what you borrow, right? So if you extend that 10 more years, you could be paying tens of thousands of more in interest. And you just don't want to do that if you could avoid that. And especially if you plan on being in that home long term, it may not be a good decision for you to have that lower payment if you could definitely afford to maintain what you currently have.
Got it, got it. Because I was going to call the bank and say, hey, please stop my mortgage payment because I got a modification that I can. But yeah, so yeah, man, just unpack that a bit because I just want to kind of be able to give it to the people in digestible amounts. So, from my understanding, basically, Mr. Jones, that when we're transitioning here in regards to the 40-year mortgage, we have to understand that one, our lender has to approve that, right? That's something that a lender has to approve. Two, that again, just because it is FHA approved, that's not necessarily mean we ultimately automatically qualify, right? And ultimately we have to be in position of hardship to be able to execute that. But it sounds as though that there's other modification that can be applied otherwise.
Correct. Yeah. So, I mean, they already had the FHA streamlined kind of refinance program. They've had other modifications. If you have your VA loan and you're having some hardship, there's some modification available for you as well. So you have to look at your loan product as a primary guideline of what may be available, but ultimately is going to come down to what your loan servicer is going to offer under their particular portfolio.
So, as a subject matter expert, let me give you a scenario that possibly it may happen that the people may want to know. So, say for instance, if I'm a person who is behind on my mortgage 6 months, and I do not have the money to pay, but I am still willing to pay my mortgage moving forward. Is there any suggested tools of modification that you know offhand that can be utilized?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some standard modification programs. What they'll do is they'll modify your mortgage where they'll take those 6 month payments and they'll just put those on the back of the loan. Okay, so they won't extend your loan out any. They'll just put those on the back of the loan, so to speak. They may do it where they'll impact your payment minimally, or they might extend it out for a year or so. So let's say you're 3 years in a 30-year mortgage. In that particular situation, they might just re-up and just do a total new 30-year to kind of stretch those 6 months of payments out so you don't see that increase, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to customize it to your situation. But basically what they end up doing is putting it on the back of the payment. So they might do it that way where they might just give you a total new 30-year mortgage, or what they'll do is they'll just extend your current mortgage 6 months, right? So if you were going to end and your last mortgage payment was going to be January of 2050, now it's going to be July of 2050, right? So they'll just do it that way so that you have minimal discrepancy in what your payment is, and also it doesn't really further how much interest you're going to have, because if you stretch it out over that next 3 years, those 6 months of payments out over 3 years, it's going to lead to you having a lot more interest versus if you just add 6 more payments on the back of that loan.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So, for anyone out there that's having any type of issues in regards to that, please reach out to us, as we want to be able to seek help and be able to provide assistance to everyone, not only obviously the veteran community that we serve, but we also want to be able to help anyone in need. So, again, our subject matter expert here in the real estate industry, Mr. Kayvon Jones here, I think he'll give you a beautiful pathway and success. So, in regards to that, thank you so much for that, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it gets to the point of what I want to bring up is how this impacts veterans, right? How this impacts all of us as far as that goes. If you're looking to purchase a home, and there's been several news articles, oh, just wait to buy, wait till the interest rates go down. There's going to be more inventory soon. People are going to get foreclosed on,
Mm-hmm.
those different things like that, right? This is just a sign that the government has just deemably made the real estate market too big to fail, right? Because they're going to start getting creative to really keep people in their homes. So a large number of foreclosures, some people forecasted, oh, there are going to be millions of foreclosures coming up in the next couple of years. Where are they going to come from, right? Because these FHA loans are not going to get foreclosed on. And those are typically the people that are at the most risk because they put the least amount of down payment. They don't have that 20% cushion. They're not an investor where they had 20% or more on those loans. So, that's where a lot of foreclosures would come from, those primary residents getting kicked out of their homes, which is a very unfortunate thing. I mean, it's kind of crazy that some of the speaking behind it is that we kind of prey on the downfall of others to save some money. And I definitely understand capitalism, but you ain't gonna capitalize that way. Not today. Not today. Not in the next couple years, man. That's not gonna be available to you. So what you have to think about is that, hey, if you're in a position to buy and you need to purchase a home, you definitely just need to kind of bite the bullet with that interest rate and go ahead and do that, especially if you're using that VA loan product. You don't have to put any money down. If you're at least 10% service connected, you don't have that funding fee. If you're looking at doing your benefits, go ahead and reach out to Veterans for Veterans. We'll make sure that we review, get you at least 10% service connected. If you qualify for that, which pretty much all veterans have a slew of issues going on with them, they'll definitely get them at least 10% service connected, so you will not have to pay that funding fee. Purchase that home, man. There's really no reason to continue to pay rent if that's your goal and you're in a position financially and with your employment to do so.
For sure, for sure. At the end of the day, we want to be able to not only access the benefits, but maximize them in every type of way, whether if it's a VA home loan, healthcare, compensation benefits, what have you. At the end of the day, if we can be able to service you in those directions, that's what we want to do. So give us a call. Again, at the end of the day, we want to go ahead and make sure that we're obviously giving you the top tier service, but not only top tier service, but also providing you the top tier amount of benefits.
Absolutely, for sure. And stop listening to random people that aren't licensed professionals or some sort of expert in their field, right? 'Cause if they're
Mhm.
not committed to that topic and working on that day by day, they might have some wonderful insight on some things, but they're not in the industry. They only are looking at those news clips and they don't really understand. And that kind of gets to where we're going with talking about these proposed changes in the veteran benefit space, right? So you want to make sure you're listening to experts regarding that. So we're going to get into telling you about that. Mr. Davis has some wonderful information on that side. So definitely, let's get into it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Welcome back to the Prepare to Compete podcast. We're talking about veteran disability benefits. Now, Kenneth, you were mentioning that there's going to be some different policy changes that may or may not come down the pipeline in terms of veteran disability benefits, man. So I know there's like a slew of different kind of proposed legislations, and we don't want to scare you guys about it, but we want you guys to be well informed of what can potentially happen, so that if you have some issues with it, write your senators, write your congressmen, do whatever you have to do. But definitely, we want you to be aware. So, with some of these changes, I know we have some hot button things that you definitely wanted to make sure we covered.
Yeah, there's a few different hot button topics, and thank you for that. That we want to cover today. Obviously, we talk about different underserved communities being an attack, and I think this is one of those instances that that we're being able to do so. To be very frank with you, and there's again there's a legislation that looks to possibly become a bill. Right now, it's just a suggestion, right? But again, a lot of these suggestions could be taken seriously and actually drawn up, right? So what has happened is the Congressional Budget Office, okay, again has recommended or proposed that a few different things to be able to cut budgetary issues of obviously the government. We've been talking about budgetary issues that's been happening on with the government for years on them, which again we're surpassing are going to be surpassing the $1 trillion, right? And we have. That's just unfortunate. But with that, they have proposed to be able to one big one I want to talk about is the tax VA disability benefits, right? To be able to tax your VA compensation that is provided to you and your family, and two, actually to reduce the benefits that any veteran that is receiving full compensation benefits, to be able to reduce those if you are receiving over a gross household income of $125,000, which I can tell you here right now. Again, many household incomes from veterans here in San Diego, California, at $125,000. Most people need that just to get by. Okay. And again, we're talking about gross. When we're talking about gross, that's a $60,000 income. And we kind of understand even the income average, the average nationwide average of income is much lower than that. But we must take into account, again, geographical locations. So that's a huge factor. So with these proposed issues, right? The Congressional Budget Office has proposed that again that this be enacted in January 2024, right? Um, we've seen many proposals. We've seen many proposals, veterans, right? With many of these proposals, we've seen actually some taken up, and actually we've seen some that actually has went nowhere. All right. I'm not a politician. I'm not a advocate for any disregard or removal of veterans benefits. Obviously, I'm the complete opposite. So when we're talking about this here, I've seen so many different bills being proposed. This is something, again, just my opinion. I don't think it's going to go too far when we're talking about veterans benefits, just due to the fact that we have been put in this position we've been put in this position as a benefit. And I always want to make sure that I reiterate that to any client that we ever take on. This is an exclusive benefit that's been offered to you as a veteran, okay, due to your military service. And now, since your ailments, whether if it's a mental ailment, physical ailment, or disease that is continuously transpiring and you're dealing with, that's something that shouldn't be taken away. Morally, these are my moral grounds that I stand on. However, when we're talking about political pushback or intent, that's something that they may not take in consideration. However, However, we must understand that the government has promised us to protect our veterans and soldiers that has come back here in obviously our land. Um, there's different aspects, and if they have done a good job or perspectives, and if they haven't done a great job, or if they have done a great job. But one thing that we do know, there are benefits out there for the veteran community. Okay, and this here with being proposed basically on a financial constraint due to the fact the misrepresentation or misappropriations of finances from the government. I don't think it's necessarily going to be something that's going to be able to be pushed through. Okay. Now we're talking about one specific one. I want to talk about each in its own category, right? To partition each one. And I want to go ahead and speak about, again, the reduction of benefits or full benefits for if you are receiving a gross household income of $125,000. Now, the Congressional Budget Office, they have introduced this to ultimately to provide suggestions to Congress. All right. There's many other things that we can consider cutting, and I think that's going to possibly come about. Because when you're talking about a gross household income of $125,000, living in a location such as California, New York, even Texas, or even some parts of Texas, some parts of, again, Massachusetts, when we're talking about any type of Washington, D.C., yeah, there's so many different locations throughout the country that is fairly expensive. That $125,000 and the gross household income is barely just getting by, you know.
Absolutely.
And I want people to understand that we're talking about a gross household income. That means, again, if your salary is $60,000 and your wife's salary is $80,000 or vice versa or what have you, you know, that means benefit cuts could happen, right? And this is estimated to affect over 30% of service members. Okay. It's estimated to affect that many service members. And when we're talking about affecting 30% of service members, that is going to be a huge impact on our community. All right. And when I mean our community, I mean the veteran community. So we must be informed, right, to prepare. However, this is not something that has been written in legislation or moving anywhere, but this is a proposal that has been suggested. Okay. So I don't want everyone to get scared. I don't want everyone to draw up some type of action plan on moving forward, anything. I just want you guys to make you aware. We're an education platform. This is what we do. We want to make sure that you guys are informed. Okay. So when we're talking about $125,000, that's something that is fairly minimal or nominal for some locations in the geographical country. Okay.
Absolutely. No, it's very interesting, right? Because you named a lot of larger cities, but even when you talk about Las Vegas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just think about it, like we had the article that we went over before, and they were talking about Las Vegas. You need to make at least $90,000 to be able to purchase a home. And it's like, well, okay, if you make 125,000, that's decent, but you have to realize that that's minimal to purchase a home. That's not considering any car payments. If your kids are going to private school, if you're taking care of an elderly family member, and a lot of different things that veterans and people at large have expense wise, right? So
Mm-hmm.
literally to purchase that $400,000 home, it'd probably be more realistic to think you need to make $125,000. And for the veterans who served this country, right? You mean to tell me just because I make 125,000, I only deserve the bare minimum home in my city, right? So there's just a lot of things to kind of unpack, and it's very interesting on how they kind of determine that number, because you figure in most of the average cities here in the U.S., making 125,000 is kind of just bare minimum of living comfortably, being able to own a home in a decent area, being able to drive a decent car if you want to go on vacation and that
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. So it's not like, oh, you just balling because you're making that six-figure salary. Now if you had some other investments and things like that, you can definitely get by a lot better. But yeah, it's definitely to be considered on how they're doing that, and even just how I guess some of our business owners will be impacted by that, right? And based on, I wonder how their income is going to factor into that with Congress. So glad to hear that it's just something that's being proposed right now. It's
Mhm.
not something set in stone, because there's a lot of conversations that we're going to have before we officially want to move to that.
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, we're talking about a community that is really, I mean, ultimately to protect this country from, despair. We have been one of the world's leaders for many years on end, and we wouldn't be able to do this without our military. And that's just a fact, okay? And that's something that we need to make sure that we're taking in consideration, right? But ultimately, when we're talking about the penalization of a veteran having an exclusive benefit that's that has been warranted from the government, okay. But not only that, you're penalizing a veteran who can have a multitude of injuries, but chooses to still live their life and also work. So now it's perpetualizing the mantra of not wanting to work. This actually affects or also perpetualizing outcomes of being paid under the table, right? Let's talk about the elephant in the room. That happens every so often here when we're talking about taxable income and different things of that nature. It's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate because they have the right to be able to receive those benefits because they protected and served this country. So now we're actually going to penalize a veteran for being able to still have, again, somewhat of sound body and mind based upon, whatever ailments they may have. And now we're penalizing them because, we don't want you to work. We're just trying to make cuts, budgetary cuts. But those budgetary cuts are unfortunately impacting a large community that is most important to this country. Okay, that is the most important to one of the most important communities of this country. Okay, and when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about a demographic of people that comes from every race, creed, religion, background, and so on. Okay, so with that, we're impacting not just a subset group that has provided us the freedom to walk this country again un, unaware of fear or not in fear, but they're still dealing with their issues on a day-to-day basis. So when we're talking about those budgetary cuts or things of that nature, there's a lot of other aspects that we can be able to cut in regards to being able to save some type of income. Again, I could go on a laundry list of governmental programs that it could we could think about not providing income to or allocating or appropriating funds there. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to educate the veterans. But when we're talking about different budgetary cuts, I can ultimately say that again, the Department of Veterans Affairs and the income aspect of the Department of Veterans Affairs it's actually not enough, because if it was, we'll understand that there's about 12 million. We understand that again, there's over 12 million veterans who aren't receiving disability at all. But you want to cut the benefits for the people that are receiving benefit. Those warranted benefits. So again, we kind of got to go back to the drawing board in regards to this, in my opinion, in my perspective. Okay, because at the end of the day, though the VA is a huge agency, this is an agency that matters. This is an agency that matters, and to be able to harm a veteran and their family, due to misappropriation of funds over the time frame, it's unfortunate, and it shows, right? Again, inflation wouldn't be through the roof last year as it was. Again, cost of living has skyrocketed. Right, cost of living has skyrocketed. We're going to be going into a generation of renters, possibly due to the fact not being able to afford a home. Okay, as you mentioned in the previous sector, that there's upcoming a 40-year mortgage modification program, right? There's a upcoming 40-year mortgage modification program that goes ahead and reflects the misappropriation of funds on how we're actually dealing with the people of this country. Okay, so with these again budget cuts, I want you guys to understand that it's not something that has been enacted. It's not something that is in the House and the Senate or anything. It is just a proposal from the Congressional Budget Office. And I do want you to understand they're just providing recommendations. Okay. If it's something that's going to get passed, listen, I'm not here to become political or be in a political state. Or, if I'm here for Republicans, independents, Democrats, anything of that nature. But what I am telling you is that we must be aware of, again, the information. Okay. That's one aspect of it. Okay. And again, I don't mean to rant or go on or anything of that nature, but veterans, I do want you to be informed. Okay. I always want you guys to be informed from this channel. So with that being said, again, we're here to make sure that the platform and the people of this platform are garnering the information. All right. So number two, another aspect that's very important that they're looking to do is to tax VA benefits. It's to tax the VA benefits. So I can tell you this here. Um, there are many veterans that live off this income every single month. And when I mean live off this income, I mean from the penny that there is, from the moment that is deposited in their account all the way down to the last penny at the end of the month. They live off the income because their medical ailments prevent them from being able to, become or to utilize their sound body, mind, and spirit to be able to earn income for them and their families. So to tax the veteran's income or the veteran benefits would be a disservice to this country. Okay. And the only reason I say that is because it's not to be able to relinquish any type of, again, hold on to any type of monies that are provided to the veterans. But there's a homeless population. There's a large homeless population of veterans for a reason. Right. Even those veterans there, when you're talking about a veteran that's living, that's on the side of the road, that's homeless or living check to check, and they're possibly could be living out of a car, living out of a tent, but then they utilize every single penny that comes about from their 30% of disability. Okay.
Absolutely. And what really makes it interesting, right? And to unpack it a little bit is like, so the reason why that money isn't taxed is because it's the government providing that benefit to individuals who have served and also have a disability connected from that service, right? You
Mhm.
served your country. This is what your country owes you. So now what the country owes you, we're going to tax that so we essentially get our money back to reallocate to other things. So
Mhm.
that's a very interesting perspective. I mean, I know that, they thought about cutting Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, different programs of that nature just to try to help with all the other funding. But as you alluded to, there's been some pork belly spending in a lot of areas that aren't necessarily essential, right? That they could look into cutting those areas before we do cut these required areas of essentially medical care, right? Because veterans are being compensated because of their medical ailments, and we need to make sure that they receive that compensation because, again, it's already not enough to just live on that primarily on its own. And now, they're trying to work part time, doing different things, still maintaining full time employment, even though they might be 100% permanent and total disabled, which is already a tremendous feat right there. And it just shows the strength of our veterans for doing that. And I was saying, well, you know what? we're going to go ahead and take that back from you. So, I mean, again, somebody that's permanent in total getting 3,700 a month, depending on what tax bracket they're in, that could be $500 a month less they'll have based on paying that tax.
Mm.
So that is going to be a, a tremendous decrease in their monthly allocation. I mean, $500 a month, that's groceries for the family, that's, gas in your vehicle. There's, keeping the lights on, paying your electric bills and all that sort of thing. So our veterans actually need that money, probably a lot more than the government needs to take it from them.
And then essentially, again, when we're talking about the tax, right, it becomes very interesting when we're talking about, states that have state tax as well, right? Now we're talking about a federal and a state issue, right? And now that gets very convoluted and how that works out. But, again, like I said before, I'm not here to get very political. I just want to make sure that everyone is informed what some of the proposals are. So again, that family, that support that you receive every single month could essentially be taxed. But again, it is in nowhere. It's just a budget congressional office. Again, the CBO has been enacted since 1974. Again, they're just making suggestions on being able to reduce the debt ceiling that, again, the country has. There's so many different aspects and ways that we can do so. The again VA secretary has again pushed away with this recommendation and different things of that nature. So we kind of understand, where the stance is in regards to this. But when we get very, very in the trenches of it, which I want to talk a little bit more in detail amongst this. I think we're going to go ahead and again navigate other videos in regards to this, but I just want to kind of give you the basis and foundational analysis of it. Okay, and again, like I said before, this is just an agency that makes recommendations. It's not an agency that passes bills. It's not an agency that can even push up bills. It's an agency that makes recommendations, and this is one of the recommendations. And I think because the recommendation was made, it was based upon. You have to understand, 2023 here, the VA budget is again is going to be in excess of 297. That's been appropriated. It's been $297 billion, right? As we continue to go through the progressions of the years, again, we want to make sure that our veterans are taken care of. That's who we're advocates for. That's who we're trying to protect. That's who we're trying to make sure that is navigating their directions well. Okay. This here, in regards to budgetary constraints, is not our concern. That's the government's concern. I say all this to say that when we're talking about these again proposals of to be able to reduce veterans benefits such as mean testing, taxing of VA benefits, and also the reduction of full benefits for veterans who make over $125,000 in total household income could impact their family. So when we're out there, when we're actually advocating for veterans benefits or wanting to speak about veterans benefits, make sure that you go ahead and let another veteran know about this channel so they can be able to get all the information that they deserve. So these are just two proposals that I wanted to go ahead and discuss and kind of bring up. Again, we're going to discuss other proposals and other legislations and also other information in regards to that. But these are two huge proposals that, again, that we may want to be on the lookout for because it has been particularly within motion of wanting to start this in January 2024. Again, do we see things of this nature happening? Listen, I can't be the one to say yay or nay. But if you
Yeah, yeah,
legislation
absolutely.
works, you know
Yeah,
how it
yeah.
goes.
I mean, I would say some silver lining that it might not happen is something that you kind of mentioned in another video, is that when we've had different financial hardships and when the government shutdown happened, right? They always mailed out the veteran disability checks, right? They're always sure to take care of the veteran population, even though they were furloughing employees, government employees, and that sort of thing. Veterans always receive their checks. So that has always been a priority of the government to make sure that the veterans have what they deserve from that basic standpoint. Again, as we know, there's a lot of people that are underrated, right? As far as their service connected disabilities, there are people that aren't rated at all. Obviously, that's something that Veterans for Veterans, we're able to kind of consult with you about that, look into your claims to help that part of it. But as a general consensus, the veteran space has always been one that's tried to be cherished and protected by our government, and we definitely do appreciate that.
True indeed. True indeed. So if you guys have any other questions, concerns, or just wants to speak amongst this, please comment, reach out to us. Send the email. Obviously, you see the links below in the chat box. Please, we'd like to be able to go ahead and engage in this because we want to know your thoughts. But primarily, at the end of the day, we want to engage with the veteran community to be able to service you.
Absolutely, man. Reach down, let us know. We're going to get this show closed out. It was great speaking with you this week. Definitely continue to subscribe, share the channel with other veterans. Make sure this information spreads. We appreciate the love and support. Take care. Have a good one. Continue to prepare to compete. We out.
Stay
Peace.
blessed. Stay blessed.